Support for the Sidebar podcast is brought to you by $1.50 Shave Gang. For 50 cents more than Dollar Shave Club, $1.50 Shave Gang will send a gang, yes, a gang, to wherever you are to shave your face. And the best part? Every Shave Gang team member is part of an actual gang. No imitation gangs here, folks, so what are you waiting for? Whether you're a man, or a woman, or both, or neither. We all need to shave. Hey, $1.50 Shave Gang, where initiation is free.
Gang initiation not required. If you'd like to join a gang, notify a gang member nearest you. Initiates may do one of several of the following: stab, kick, punch, rape, kill a member of a rival gang, murder a member of your own gang, get beat up by several men by your new friends. Price of participation in gang may vary. Be prepared to disappoint family members and loved ones. Gang items sold separately. You're at a shelter with your girlfriend looking to bring a puppy home. And then you see her eyes, and you realize she's about to bring home 10. Welcome to the Sidebar. I'm Clint Myers-Novak, filling in for Sebastian Morales, who's currently riding the gravy train all the way to Sugartown. Flower Magazine is a luxury lifestyle magazine full of decoration, design, and, you may not have guessed, flowers. Peter McNair is a contributor to Flower Magazine with his monthly article, Not Feeling Flowers, High-End Arrangements for Sudden Special Occasions. Peter, welcome to the Sidebar.
It's great to talk to you again, Clint.
It is great to talk with you as well. Now, one thing that your readers know about you and you talk about a lot is that you are actually deathly allergic to flowers.
Yeah. I'm on 3 different medications. To be honest, I shouldn't be outside more than 20 minutes on any given day. Always have an EpiPen. I'm like the cowboy of Long Island. I have 2 EpiPens in my holster at any given time, just in case.
Mm-hmm. And you've started actually a fund for all kids with all allergies to have EpiPens. It's a kind of arming teachers with EpiPens sort of a thing.
Well, the thing is, EpiPens are so expensive that most people can't afford them, and children are dying from flowers. They're just dropping. Peanut allergy is on the rise, but I feel like a neglected cause in this country, neglected disease and affliction, is our flowers. And nurseries are dangerous. They'll just stick one in a Home Depot right out in the open, and a mother will have her children in strollers, and it'll just be going by. And I don't know what causes SIDS, but I would say that's right up there. Flowers.
Yeah.
Dandelion dander.
Dangerous.
Dangerous.
It's not dandy. That's for sure.
No, it's not. Unless somebody's playing music, but even so, that can kick up flower dander.
Because sound waves are really just vibrating air, and if you play music loud enough, you actually inspire flowers to spread their pollen.
It's true.
quicker.
It's true. Flowers, scientists don't quite understand how flowers feel, but I think they're vicious bastards. And I think flowers were put here to kill, and I think the soldiers of flowers are bees, and I'm totally against bees. I say kill them all. How great is honey? That great?
Honey is quite fantastic.
It's quite fantastic, but could you live without it?
If I were forced to at gunpoint, possibly, but I do have it for on my toast every single morning, or as many mornings as I can. I like to have a nice light avocado paste on top of my toast with a little bit of salt and some pepper and a dab of honey.
Now, what if somebody told you that honey is killing people? Honey is just as bad for you just as bad for society as a blood diamond. It's just as bad as, you might as well just take a bunch of plastic, put it in a garbage can, and burn it right in your driveway.
Well, is that because honey is killing people, or because honey is from the bees and we need to get rid of the bees?
Well, yes, and both. And bees are killing people, flowers are killing people, and honey is killing everyone. And they're charging $20 a jar for the good stuff. You can smear it everywhere. Now, I will say that smearing honey under your armpit a little bit, not so bad. It's great for chafing.
Oh, yeah, and it keeps everything well oiled, especially marathon runners have been known to put it between their legs, and it also keeps you smelling pretty fresh for the whole day.
It's true. It keeps those your tendrils moist.
Mm-hmm.
I think. One thing is with the honey, and that it's a high end honey is as much as I am against it. High end honey is good for high performance, and people understand that high end arranging is almost a full contact sport.
Really, you really have to get in there with the flowers and really tackle them to the ground.
Well, that's the thing, Clint. That's my niche is no flowers.
No flowers.
I'm not feeling flowers.
Oh.
I don't touch flowers. I don't like them in my arrangements, and I protest. I went down to the White House last week, and I picketed.
You picketed flowers at the White House?
I did, yeah. The First Lady was tending to her garden. She was planting the annual whatever that's called, and I was against it.
Now, I understand that you joined protesters who were there who were protesting other things, of course.
I did. They were pretty welcoming. I taught them a strategy. What I like to do is I like to go to Starbucks in the morning. I like to get very caffeinated, and I like to take the wrappers from the straws, and I like to ball them up in my mouth, and then take little pellets, put them in the straw, and then shoot them over the White House gate.
Oh, okay. So you come fully loaded with spitballs.
Yes.
That is that seems almost like the Secret Service or someone would get involved.
Well, my my objective was to ruin their day. My objective wasn't to hurt anybody, but the way I see it, it's also protesting straws, and I for one am for straws.
You're for straws.
Everybody's against straws. We need to get rid of straws in Starbucks.
Plastic straws, particularly, because they do a lot of harm to the environment after they're discarded. They're a danger to sea creatures and to many of the animals and wildlife.
Metal straws is what I would say. I would say everybody gets one metal straw. You're issued like your Social Security card. You get one Social Security card. If you lose it, you have to pay a fee. You get another one. Everybody gets one metal straw. They wear it around their neck, right? And then, hey, you want a straw? You got one.
Well, our intern, the beloved researcher Addie Harper, actually has started to use metal straws, but she bought some of the cheap ones that rub off on your skin, so her mouth has started to turn green, and she can't properly close her mouth anymore.
Oh, you see, well, I tell you why, is because that's a lead straw, and lead straws are famously manufactured in Calgary, and Calgary, everybody knows, has the most vicious honeybees in the world, and the honeybees are manufacturing the honey that are used to lubricate the lead so it can get past customs into America.
And so this is why would you say it's a war on humans? Flowers and honeybees are committing a war on humans. Is this a nature versus human thing?
I think the uprising has started. I really do. I really think it's going to go from bees to wasps. Have you seen a dragonfly?
I have seen a dragonfly. I've seen dragonflies mating.
And they're massive.
They're quite large.
Now imagine a swarm coming at you while you're just trying to, I don't know, enjoy your iced coffee on the beach.
And they just come and they put their big buttocks.
They kill you, Clint.
The
dragonfly uprising is upon us.
Have you seen the bee movie?
I've seen the bee movie.
Is it something along those lines where the bees get back at us and form into squads and start talking to us?
Not cartoons, though, Clint. If they were cartoon bees, I could deal with it, I think.
If Jerry Seinfeld bee started talking to you.
Tennis racket. Everybody needs to be issued one lead straw and one tennis racket. A racquetball racket if you can find one. That's your survivor kit. We could go through the steps and we could put together a survivor kit for the bee, wasp, dragonfly uprising.
I would love to.
Because it's only a matter of time before they start poisoning our honey.
This is a good point, because the best way to get at humans is through their sweeteners, because everyone likes sweeteners. I have honey every day.
It's true. They have a pink packet that they say causes cancer in Sweet and Low. But you know what pink is also? Supporting cancer.
Oh. Well, it's supporting cancer awareness.
Well, sure, exactly. Obviously, you're not pro-cancer.
No, I'm not pro-cancer. But speaking of things that you eat, one way that you have gotten around the flower arrangement is you say that you came up with the idea for edible arrangements.
100%. When I was a kid, I was at school, and I would have my school lunch, and I would take the time to properly arrange it before I ate it. I even tried to sell it, and I always had a little chocolate ganache that I would bring with me that I would heat up. The lunch ladies would help me heat it up in the microwave in the back. Mm-hmm. And then I would dip a pretzel in and sell it for $1.50. That'd turn a profit.
You were a little entrepreneur.
Yeah, a little hustler. That's right.
That is a very, very impressive thing. So you had, even when you were a child, you had an eye for arrangements and how things could be marketed to other people.
It's true. I remember when I found my father's Playboys, I went through and I picked out all the good ones, and I also had to microwave the pages to unstick them, and then I would bring them to school, and then I would sell them for a profit.
And how much would a page go for? 80 cents to $1?
No, you can't sell by the page. You $30 per Playboy.
$30. Oh, per the whole book.
The whole book.
Now, your dad, of course, wasn't too happy about this.
But he never said anything. He was embarrassed.
Right, because if you go to your son, at the time you were 10 years old?
18.
Oh, you were 18.
I was a little slow in school.
Okay. Well, if you go to your even 18-year-old son and you accuse him of stealing and selling your Playboy magazines, which you had crusted with your semen, that's a little awkward.
Not your semen, dad's semen.
Well, yes.
Right.
I'm speaking from the father's point of view.
And believe me, he accused me of using his razor blades. I had at 14, I had a full mustache.
Oh.
I would get mistaken for a teacher. In fact, one time my home ec teacher didn't show up, and I was standing in front of the classroom just staring into space, and the substitute teacher came in to take over the class and thought that I was also a substitute teacher, and we were double booked. So I sent her home, and I taught the class for the day.
Wow. And did you teach the class something to do with
sex ed?
Sex ed. Oh, okay. Based on Playboy magazines, of course.
Playboy magazines. We had the bananas. We had the condoms. They were already there. We had plenty of honey. And that's pretty much how I got my first allergic reaction, and that's how I found out I was allergic to latex.
Oh, to latex. And how did you find out that you were allergic to flowers?
My family comes from a long line of frolickers, and we would vacation in upstate New York, and we would go to the fields, the poppy fields, and we would just run freely. Now, they had a suspicion that I had allergies because of my mustard allergy and my ketchup allergy. They knew that I couldn't have peanuts or cashews. Almonds were out. Beets, raisins, fish, chicken, most beef, and pork. But they would keep my sleeves up, and I would wear pants, and I would. It wasn't a full bubble, but it was like a cellophane wrap, and it got really hot one day. And what happened was the cellophane got caught on a tree branch, and it pulled it off. And for the first time in my life, I could smell the flowers. And you know how flowers smell, Clint. They smell amazing, absolutely amazing.
It's so like honey between your legs.
So I went right down and I stuck my face in the grass, and that's why I can't see out of my right eye anymore.
Oh my!
I went partially blind. I actually sneezed my eyeball into my lung.
Oh, wow! That I would have thought.
And it was still connected.
I would have thought that a sneeze would send your eyeball out and not in.
Well,
imploded.
It's the boomerang method. What happened was I sneezed so hard, my eyeball popped out of my face
and whipped back in.
And whipped back in on the breathe in. And
you got to see your own lung.
I did, yeah.
And what exactly? I understand that you actually have
black.
It was very dark in there.
No, my lungs were black.
Oh.
Apparently, my lungs are allergic to the rest of my body, so I have to have a breathing apparatus that I walk around with. Obviously, everybody knows that I have a little oxygen tank that I just keep my back.
Mm-hmm. A little fanny pack almost.
Yeah. Well, Yeah, the tubes are hidden in the fanny pack. And so that's on the side. The other side is my colostomy bag. And that's for a different affliction. That was from the accident. That was from the banana latex accident.
Oh,
that,
yes, of course.
Crippled me a little bit and set me back a couple years in school. It's funny. I was actually able in school to take high school and college credit at the same time.
Because of your age.
Because of my age, right. I was no longer eligible for medical under my parents, so I had to work. So I had a full-time job while I was attending college and high school at the same time.
Yeah, because you were at the time 20 years old doing your sophomore year of high school.
I was, yeah. And luckily we went, because I grew up in East Hampton, which is a pretty affluent community.
Yes.
Luckily, they were able to designate a classroom for me, and they were able to turn that into a giant bubble.
Oh.
So I was able to live in the bubble, bee flower-free, honey-free, and only on the hot days would the condensation fog up the bubble, and I wouldn't be able to see out. But thankfully, thanks to modern advancements in medicine, I'm able to roam freely now, bubble-free.
Yes. Because you, at all times, you carry EpiPens on you, and you also have been pumped full of a few different allergen-fighting medications.
Yeah, specifically low-dose methamphetamine.
Oh.
Very low dose.
Very low dose. Microdosing, as it's called.
It's a little more than microdosing, but it's prescribed, and it comes in edible arrangements, essentially. Well,
okay.
Yeah, so it's a nice little transition, but actually what I'm going for is, yes, my edible arrangement idea was stolen by a classmate.
Yes.
Profited off of it. I got no credit for it. Luckily I'm allergic to most of the fruits that are in the arrangement anyway, as well as chocolate and the material the basket is made out of. Wow. So I've never
had one yourself.
Had one myself, but from what I hear, it makes a wonderful gift.
It does.
And so I said, why can't we make wonderful edible arrangements with pharmaceuticals? Why can't we infuse drugs into fruits and vegetables and meats or whatever you have it, and gift it?
And that's where your newest line, the McNair Snare edible arrangements, comes.
Right. Well, the McNair Snare is the fish jerky line.
Of course.
And that's all sustainably caught.
Fantastic. You environmentally friendly, always.
Yeah. Well, we got into a little bit of a snag because when we were pulling swordfish onto the boat, somebody that was working there was taking pictures with the swordfish, and unfortunately he lost his sword.
The fish?
Yeah, he's just a fish now.
He's just a fish. And a swordfish without a sword is just the saddest fish. He probably has lost a lot of his own confidence.
I would assume so. We tried to return him to his natural habitat, but nobody recognized him.
Not even his family?
Not even his family. They all had swords. He didn't have a sword, and he stuck out like a sore thumb.
A swordless thumb.
A sword thumb.
Oh. That's better.
It could be. I don't know. We're still working on the title, but we have plenty of different baskets. So mine is I'm working on this methamphetamine basket.
Yes.
Where it would have little heroin drops and cocaine chocolate bars and
of course
all kinds of little goodies that obviously you can travel with. You can put them on the plane. Nobody can tell.
Yeah, and you just eat them in a bit more than a microdose, and it allows you to travel.
Right, and we also have the fun pack, which which is actually prescription free. This is just if you're going to a concert. You'd be surprised how much LSD you can put in one raisinette.
I don't think I would, because a raisin is actually just a shriveled up grape.
Right.
So if you were able to put liquid LSD into a raisin,
it just absorbs.
It would just swell back up to a grape, and you would have an acid grape.
An acid grape, and let me tell you, it's I won't say it's trial by fire, but there were a couple of misfires at the beginning of development. Our R&D team, we lost a couple good members. They
died?
Well, they didn't die, but they were severely handicapped, and one was just lost.
Oh.
One went out into the woods, and we still haven't found him.
He's just been wandering for the last couple months, so I've heard. Every once in a while you can hear human howls imitating a wolf.
Well, we're really worried about him because deer hunting season is coming up, and when he left, he was just wearing camouflage, and he was wearing his favorite deer antler hat.
He's probably going to get shot, and that is unfortunate. But I want to bring it back to your specialty, back to the edible arrangements, and back to some of the events that you work on, because your article details a lot of sudden occasions, so high-end events that might come up suddenly, such as what a fundraiser. What is a edible or an alternative arrangement? Because you're all about something that's out of the know, out of the normal.
Yeah, well, it really varies because the party season, the summer season, is essentially Memorial Day to Labor Day,
of course,
out there, and you never know when P. Diddy realizes that AIDS is a real thing and he wants to throw an event, and
that did happen quite suddenly,
and that actually happened. That was in June, and he was like, AIDS. He's like, I thought it was HIV, and we had to explain it was the same thing, but you don't want to ever talk down to the client. You want to make him feel like he's a part of it. So we actually gave him AIDS.
Oh, so he would feel like he was helping himself as well.
Exactly. We wanted him to experience it, and so he went with a little vial and he injected a couple of his the workers on his plantation, and we haven't had a follow up, but I assume he was a believer because he left a deposit the next day.
Wow.
And we had a great party, and again, no flowers. We like to really think outside the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So outside the box, as in outside a box of flowers, or would you, instead of flowers, I would think that LED lights would be a popular, multicolored LED lights that are curled around sticks that you can wave in patterns.
No, we actually, not to be condescending, but we do like to think a little bigger. Remember in World War II when the boats were landing on the beach in Normandy?
Yes.
And there were those big metal obstructions that were there to right? You know what I'm talking about, that were on the beach? So we like to take those and we like to drop them out of helicopters, and wherever they land on the property, they stay, right? Okay. And then what we like to do is we like to surprise the party guests, right? If you're going to put all this time to decorate, why are you going to do it all at once? Mm-hmm. If you go to a restaurant, you have your appetizer, you have your main course, you have your dessert, you might have a little cocktail, you might have a pre-cocktail, you pace yourself. I like to pace the decorating.
Okay, so you spread it out throughout the evening, and even when guests are arriving, you still keep it coming.
Right, exactly. There could be a metal obstruction just fall down 2 a.m. Oh. Whoa, I thought this party was over. That's how you keep a party started. That's how you keep a party sustained.
And I understand, speaking of celebrity summer parties, you also did Jennifer Lawrence's birthday over the summer. She had a late birthday party, and a couple of the guests actually got a little injured.
Yeah. See, what happened was we were throwing an In Living Color party, and we wanted everybody to wear parachute pants, but Jennifer Lawrence insisted on wearing an actual parachute. And while she was dancing, somebody came up on her and pulled the string, and it just blew her right off the property, and it took a couple of guests with her.
She just bounced around them like a pinball, just knocking into every single person that was in her wake. Yeah.
Unfortunately, she injured Steven Spielberg pretty bad, and she cracked his glasses. And let me tell you something, Steven Spielberg, mild-mannered guy, but if you've ever seen him angry, holy shit, that guy can yell.
He explodes.
He punches women like you have never. Believe it or not, small Jewish guy, big fists.
Really?
Yeah, he's got hammers, and he was just punching glass. He smeared it on his face. He had a bandana tied around his head like he was like Rambo.
He went out for blood.
He also, right, and then he also ran into the woods, and we haven't seen him since either.
Oh, and that's why there's been 2 people howling for the last couple months.
there's been howling. We can't pinpoint where it's coming from because they're constantly on the move. But there's been a warning issued to the town of East Hampton to look out for Steven Spielberg or our researcher who last we saw was wearing deer antlers, ran off into the woods on LSD. Raisinets, pace yourself on the Raisinets. You don't want to go overboard. You never know when one is loaded with LSD.
And when one is just a Raisinette.
Right, well, who just wants a Raisinette?
No one just wants a Raisinette.
Top 15 candies, that's got to be at least 16.
Yeah.
Nobody reaches that. It's like right with a chunky bar. Anything with raisins.
Yeah.
You can't be top 10 if you're leading off with raisins.
Raisinets, they're that thing that they sell at baseball games that you look at and you think that would be nice, and then you never actually end up getting it.
Well, you think that would be nice if they sold it by the Raisinette. If
Just
they were
the
just
one?
saying, I'll have 5 Raisinets, that'll be a nickel. That's all I want. I don't want a box of Raisinets.
Because when you get the box, then you're like, oh, I have to actually eat this whole thing, and what I really want is a hot dog or a pretzel.
It's true, and especially because I'm allergic to the color yellow, it's harder for me to actually hold the box. Somebody has to hold the box for me, and I can't have chocolate actually touch my skin because it burns.
And of course, you're allergic to color yellow because most yellow coloring comes from a dandelion liquid.
It's true, and when I urinate, I have to look away.
Oh, that is awful. Are a lot of these allergies? You're allergic to a lot of things. You've listed some stuff before, some meats that you aren't able to eat. I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Is that hereditary, or is that something that you think is environmental?
Well, yeah, my mother's grandfather was allergic to everything as well.
Oh, okay.
And unfortunately, he didn't have access to EpiPens, so he was just swollen and bloated for most of his life.
And he actually died on the beaches of Normandy. It's where you got the idea, but it was because he touched a crab when they landed.
It's true, and he was actually too old to fight, but he was so bloated that a jet stream just picked him up, and he was actually vacationing in Dusseldorf, and it actually floated him over, and he was shot out of the sky, and unfortunately he passed.
Wow. That is a wicked and brutal way to go, really. But what a way to go at the same time. Just diving from the heavens into hell.
Believe it or not, 4 members of my family died the exact same way. Different wars.
Wow, that is a unfortunate, uncanny resemblance of death. And were they all allergic to all things as well?
Yeah, maybe not all things. It was hard to tell back in the 1600s.
Of course.
Who knows? They were allergic to something that bloated them up, and that just put them right up in the sky.
So is that part of the reason why you have...
One of them was burned at the stake as a heretic and a witch because humans don't float.
Normally not.
Apparently they were allergic to gourds.
And now, a word from our sponsors. Bugles. What more can be said? Bugles. Corn chips that fit over your fingers. Want to have nails like Beyonce? Bugles. They're Fritos, but worse. Bugles. Like little wizard hats that fit on your fingers. Bugles. They're bugles. Bugles. They're bugles. Bugles. They're bugles. Support for today's show is also brought to you by Your Diapies. Solid farts giving your produce section unwanted saturation? Then you need Your Diapies. Your Diapies is there on your butt when you need it most. It's breathable, huggable, and reusable. And best of all, it's yours. It's not my diapies, it's your diapies. You'd be angrier than a black knight in a white castle not to give these diapies a go. Your diapies. For the driest diapies, your diapies. I'm curious for some of our listeners, because some of our listeners are of the younger generation. What do you think are some Instagrammable arrangements? How does one give their Instagram that extra kick that puts you over the top and makes you at 1.1 million followers?
Well, I take my direction from, if you ever watch cake decorating.
Oh, all the time.
Okay, so some of these artists, right, you can now 3D print cakes.
Yeah,
So,
wow.
so you can 3D print anything to be edible.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm working on is 3D printing things that look absolutely awful, but taste amazing. And when you cut into the center, it's really just strawberry shortcake.
Oh, that is horrible, but at the same time, so artistic. I can almost feel the pain and the suffering.
Well, it's the kind of thing that you have to suffer for your art. And I suffer probably more than anybody else, I would say, in the country physically,
Yes.
while still being successful. I'm probably the most successful physically disabled person that looks perfectly normal that you've ever seen.
Oh, okay. That's a very niche area, but I think that you have fit a very nice market, like Michael J. Fox.
Oh, we also have a Michael J. Fox cake.
You do?
We do. Yeah, it's a 3D cake. So if you wear 3D glasses and you look at it, it looks like it's shaking.
That is very well done, and we've seen, all right, we don't have
And he's in a DeLorean.
He's in a DeLorean, and it has kind of a double layer, so it has almost a 3D effect.
Exactly,
it's like
double
blue.
meetings, double layers.
Right.
Exactly. We do meta cakes.
So it's the classic Back to the Future pose where he's looking at the watch and opening it up, but he's much older in this cake.
Mm-hmm. And we like to look to the future too. So our Christopher Lloyd cake is actually of Christopher Lloyd dead in a coffin because he's probably going to die soon.
He is,
and that's actually just chocolate and banana pudding.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
And he signed off on it too. He actually applauded us for having the foresight to know that he's going to die, and he actually has a contract, I believe, with his funeral home that instead of embalming fluid, he just wants to be injected with banana pudding, and we actually make that banana pudding ourselves.
Oh,
we outsource it. I don't, I just arrange it. I have an input on designing these cakes, but I don't make these cakes. We hire the people that you see on these TV shows that make these artisanal cakes.
So you watch these TV shows,
I get the
shows
idea.
on Bravo,
I get the idea for these cakes.
and then you contact these
exactly,
people.
right. And then I say, listen, what if we had a school shooting cake?
Oh, okay. And then, of course, the Congress people that do nothing in the aftermath, those are just French fries.
Right. Our cowardly Congress cake is just French fries. Essentially, it looks like it's carne asada fries that somebody masturbated on, folded into a taco, deep fried, and threw in the dumpster. And that's also pretty delicious.
That one sounds the most delicious that I can think of because it's like a Mexican layer cake.
Right. It's sort of like a flan, like a tiramisu flan. It's actually the most anatomically accurate also because everybody knows that most members of Congress look like a dumpster fire. And we have two different versions. We have the dumpster Congress cake on fire and without, and that's the flambe. And so that's more of a baked Alaska.
And because the whole entire thing is doused in a slightly flammable liquid that you could just light up in a moment's notice.
Exactly. It's an orange rum liqueur.
Oh, yes. And that is one of the most flammable ingredients known to any cake maker. And
it's amazing how many cake fires there are, and it's amazing how many cake pastry chefs have burns on their body from using flammable liquids.
Now, I understand it's actually a pastime of pastry chefs to trade stories of almost war stories of their burns, the several ones that they got. Gordon Ramsay, not so much known for his cake making, but does bake cakes every once in a while. He has a couple burns that he sustained. He was trying to make
love, I believe they're sexually transmitted burns.
He was trying to make love to many women at once.
Mm-hmm. When you make love to many unclean women, Clint, your urine becomes toxic, it becomes flammable, and it becomes caustic. And really, Gordon Ramsay from the waist down might as well be Freddy Krueger.
That or Deadpool.
Or Deadpool. You know, pick your burned villain, pick your burned hero.
Jason Voorhees.
Right. I think, but his mother had a part in that.
Two-Face.
Two-Face. Exactly.
Jaws. Post-Electric Shock.
I believe it was that Jaws 2.
That might have been Jaws 2.
That was Jaws 2. The first one, I believe, was the propane tank in the mouth.
Yes.
Right.
You know, Jaws had a lot of ways to go.
Well, it's funny because that actually inspired my doctors for a treatment when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
The
propane tank in the mouth.
Right. They had to made a miniature one that clipped onto my braces,
Okay.
and I would keep that packed on the side of my mouth like snooze.
Okay.
And it would slowly leak and it into absorb into my body. But obviously it wasn't propane. There were meds.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it would sort of seep into my brain and it would give me these abstract thoughts, and that's really how I started coming up with arranging. And I started at funerals at first, and I started at graduation, sweet 16s when I was in my post-teen years, pre-college years, and I'd go to a funeral and you'd see flowers everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, well, that's going to kill somebody like me. I don't even know this person, but I'm sad. I'm crying because I'm having an allergic reaction. So I would do things like I would replace the entire bench with cheese. I would make a cheese bench. Nobody saw it coming.
And of course that was a huge hit. The Swiss cheese bench was
in Wisconsin.
Oh yeah, that was the biggest thing. That actually was the top selling item on eBay in 3 counties in Wisconsin.
The only downside is that it brought on the beavers.
You know, beavers are attracted to cheese, especially cheese with holes.
Believe it or not, even if they're underwater, they can smell it. And nobody knows how sharp a beaver tooth is. I mean, obviously they can chew through wood, but let me tell you something. If they can chew through wood, they sure as shit can chew through cheese. And if you have any cheese on your leg, let me tell you something.
It's gone.
Gone.
It's gone.
A beaver will whittle your leg right off your body with just the slightest little dribble of. That's why, if you'll notice, anywhere like go down the Mississippi or wherever you find a beaver, there's no cheesesteak restaurants.
There's
no Cracker Barrels.
Mm-mm.
Nowhere.
No Cheesecake Factory.
No Cheesecake Factory. Nowhere.
No Chuck E. Cheese.
No. And the thing about beavers is that they're exploited by Chuck E. Cheese. If you go into Chuck E. Cheese, you'll find an animatronic beaver in every Chuck E. Cheese.
In every single one.
Right.
Right next to the mouse.
It's true. And, beavers don't have a voice of their own. But I'll be damned if I won't club a beaver in the, to protect Chuck E. Cheese. That's for my children party.
And you have to protect your children at all costs. And if a beaver gets into Chuck E. Cheese and there happens to be cheese on your child's leg, that child is gone.
It's true. And, beavers aside, sweet 16s, I would change it up. I would arrange for one of the girls to be kidnapped and sold into slavery. But at the last second, we would bring her back.
So you would basically set up a Taken scenario.
It was like a mystery-themed dinner party where nobody was in on it.
That seems very extreme.
Well, if you want to make your mark into this world, Clint, you have to be extreme and you have to be bold, and you have to understand that most people won't understand your methods. Now, I've been arrested over 45 times for. People would say they're publicity stunts, but I would say I'm just pushing the envelope of high-end arranging.
It's all in the name of entertainment.
It's It's entertainment, and it's also aesthetic pleasure. Who wants to just look at a white wall when you can splatter it with blood stolen from the Red Cross that was meant for some native tribe in Uganda?
That would make quite a statement. Have you done that?
I have done that, right? And I was actually on exhibition in the Guggenheim. I actually stumbled into becoming an artist, believe it or not.
Oh, yes. You have I did want to talk about this. You have an upcoming exhibition in the MoMA in New York going up soon.
Mm-hmm. Splatter. And
it is just various, how should I put this, bodily fluids.
Some bodily, some not.
Some bodily, some plant-based.
If it's not a bodily fluid, then the fluid is on a body.
Yes, and so it's all body-based fluids put throughout 3 rooms and anyone who walks through is actually blindfolded and spun around 3 times in every room, and they're yelled at by volunteers.
Well, I'm really excited about it because we have a dunk tank. We have a McDonald's sweet and sour sauce dunk tank, and really what we do is we bread you like a McNugget, and then we have a fire pole from the 3rd floor, and you swing right down into there, and then you towel yourself off, and that's only an extra $15. And,
I would pay that
and
for sure.
And 3/4 of that goes to charity. The other, for some reason, goes to Paul Newman.
Everything goes to Paul Newman in New York, especially in the MoMA.
It's true. They actually have a salad dressing wing for the unreleased salad dressing busts. I guess peppermint mocha wasn't a salad dressing that was released, but it's it's controversial because Paul Newman was in blackface.
Yes, of course.
That obviously knows that goes against his image.
It feels like peppermint mocha would be a delicious flavor, but the blackface on the cover would be something that would kind of hurt sales.
Yeah, well, I think people don't realize that Paul Newman was a closet song and dance man.
I think just looking at his face, I feel like I could tell that because I have seen many song and dances in my time, and I myself used to be in high school quite the leading man. I did a leading role in Pippin, and rave reviews, of course.
Is that about the Chicago Bulls?
Yes, it's about Scottie Pippen. It's the revamped storytelling of his epic relationship and trials and tribulations with Michael Jordan.
Well, nobody ever. That's actually interesting because nobody ever goes the Pippen angle. They always go the MJ angle.
They always
do. And it's always the Scotty to Michael, right? He's always the sidekick. But what if you reimagined the dynasty from Scottie Pippen's perspective?
Yeah. What if you saw it from the Shadow's perspective?
Right.
The man in the back.
Right. What if it was a play just about Scottie Pippen's shadow?
Just his shadow walking around, and the shadow is commenting on Pippen's relationship to Michael Jordan.
We can arrange that.
We could.
I can arrange that.
You can arrange that.
See, Scottie Pippen's shadow is the kind of thing I'm talking at, the kind of out of the box thinking.
Scottie Pippen shadow cake.
Right, exactly. And it just, you can see the cake on the plate, but you can't cut into it. Right? It's not there. It's projecting.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've been talking a lot about high-end functions and stuff that you might have to put a lot of money into, funerals, fundraisers, sweet 16s. What about some low-end functions? Maybe some kind of just out in the field with a bunch of people with a beer and a cooler, or something a bit more trashy.
Oh, sure. Yeah, well, what I like to do home evictions.
Okay.
You see, we pair with Bank of America and Chase, and when they're evicting somebody from their home, I like to set up a nice spread to greet them when all of their possessions are being pulled from their grasp and put at the curb and quarantined off.
So you quarantine the belongings yourself, and you also set up a nice.
No, we don't quarantine. We just arrange.
Okay.
So when they're bringing out the possessions, I tell them, or somebody from my team tells them how to arrange them to be the most aesthetically pleasing for everybody else on the rest of the block. And we like to have a live band or some sort of music to drown out the crying and the desperation and the pleads for mercy.
Okay.
That can really be a downer. And what I found, what also boosts the mood is having a theme if you're going to feed anybody. So if you're going to have a food spread, like let's say there was an eviction going on in the South Bronx, and there was like 5 people living in this 1-bedroom apartment, and they were really worried about being dragged out of the country. And I said, well, that's perfect. Why don't we celebrate Carnegie Deli? And let's get a whole spread. We'll get pastrami, and we'll get corned beef, and we'll get all the fixings. And as everybody was hauled off, I gave them a sandwich care package, and I think they really enjoyed it.
Oh, okay. Something a little fond farewell.
Yeah, and it's really a celebration of New York, especially if you're going to be, if you're going to have to leave the country. This is how you want to remember the United States and the best of the United States.
You need to be able to carry something with you on your journey. Otherwise, they'll just be sad. There will be no silver lining. Your service is that you provide that silver lining no matter what. So if these people, essentially their lives are ending, but you give them a little something to be hopeful about.
Yeah, and I think the best part of the whole arrangement with the bank is that we get 24 to 48 hours after they're gone to throw a little party in their apartment.
In their honor.
Right, in their honor.
Without them.
Right, well, they're not there, but they were nice enough to leave the space, and obviously we brought all the furniture out, so there's, you can, depending on where you are, we bring it, like I said, we bring a DJ in, we have a spread, and then that's Instagrammable. If you want to talk about being Instagrammable, you can check out our parties from evicted apartments, and I think it's a hit. You never know where it's going to hit next either. There's always somebody. So I'm constantly just on this party tour right now of just arranging and evicting, and I'm blessed.
And of course, your Instagram is at McNair Party Tear.
That's right. Yeah. We tear it right down. Sometimes we even tear down the wall. Sometimes there's two apartments next to each other, and they're both being evicted at the same time. So we can tear the wall down right there, and that's not a metaphor for anything.
Our beloved researcher, the intern Addie Harper, is currently crying over her desk. Oh, it seems she is being evicted from her apartment, and
outstanding. So to our listeners, if you know where Addie lives, there's going to be a party soon. I'm not sure if her apartment. I'd have to check if her apartment is affiliated with one of the banks that we partnered with.
Addie, is it affiliated? Bank of America?
Bank of America, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, Bank of America. So it is. And that actually
Blood Red Bank of America.
Blood Red Bank. They own you. They own everyone. They own everything. But that can be on your list of houses next. So, Addie, watch out, because we're going to party inside of your apartment without you. A very popular thing to do is arranging flowers or arranging a garden in a proposal of marriage or asking someone to go to prom. But how would you arrange a divorce or a breakup?
Well, I'll give you an example.
A family member's death.
Yeah, let me give you an example. My next door neighbor on the Upper East Side, when I'm not living in the Hamptons, that's usually Memorial Day through Labor Day. But when I'm in my apartment with a great view of Central Park, I would often hear arguments coming from the floor above me. So one day, we all, it's only like a 10-unit building, even though it's 20 stories. Mm-hmm. And, we run into each other in the elevator sometimes. And I saw this woman, she was just crying. And I asked her, what's going on? She said that her husband, is involved in some criminal activity, and that he's threatening to take the children. He's threatening her life. So we arranged for somebody to dispose of him, and we have lots of property upstate, and we have plenty of people that are employable to dig ditches and keep secrets. And those are the kind of people that I like to associate with, because they don't talk, and if they do, then we have people to take out the people. So
you have essentially arranged what sounds like a modern day functioning mafia.
We don't, Cosa Nostra mafia isn't really that, that's so dated. It's laughable almost that, it's like, hey, Clint, you've been watching The Godfather too much.
I love The Godfather.
No,
it's one of the greatest movies.
Well, what we'll do is essentially what we do now is we'll arrange, say like the Waldorf Astoria is opening, and we'll arrange that nobody will burn down that hotel. And so we'll talk to the manager or the owner or the property manager, however that works, and we'll just tell them, listen, we're going to make sure that nobody burns down your hotel, and we charge a modest fee, and it's just a little bit, and that's not really the main source of our income. But it funds, charitable projects. We give out turkeys around the neighborhood on the holidays, and we make sure all the children get a good education. And
just the more I unpack here, the more honestly a little scared I get that it seems like you have started citywide, potentially nationwide if it continues to grow, crime organization.
Well, the thing is I wouldn't say I started it. Actually, when I finally did graduate from high school and college, and I made my way out into the city, a young boy at 35, just trying to dig in and start my career. I had the Sweet 16s and the funerals and the graduations under my belt, so I knew I wanted to go into arranging. But it turned out that somebody was already doing that, and they were charging way more than I would have charged. So obviously, when they found out that I was trying to get into the same business, they showed up at my doorstep, and I made an offer to help them out. I said, well, why don't we arrange together? And they agreed, but they were going to take a larger cut. So I had them chopped into little pieces and thrown into the Hudson.
And of course, that was one of the heads of the New York Italian mafia.
Well, no, it wasn't the mafia. We're arranging here. He was the problem with this guy is he had all the best places on lock. He had the Plaza Hotel on lockdown. He had the Waldorf. He had the Roosevelt. All of these places, Penn Station, Grand Central. He was spread thin, and he just wouldn't listen. And listening is half the battle. Showing up is the battle, 90%. Listening is the other 5. The other 5, it's just that skill and that's creativity.
Yes.
So this guy, he wasn't very creative, and I didn't like the way he screwed in light bulbs, and I didn't like the way he selected carpet, and sure as shit, wouldn't go to a local hardware store. You go to Home Depot. I mean, what was he thinking?
And of course, his style was a bit more bohemian, and your style was a bit more loud, pizzazz, kind of new age out there.
Well, I don't like to pigeonhole my style into any one. I like to think that depending on the venue and depending on what needs to be arranged, I arrange it. And I have people below me that do a lot of the arranging that I don't even know about. Mm-hmm. You can't control everybody that's working for you, and so and they hire people, and we have different pockets. We're involved in different things, so business is going really well. Obviously, I can't have any actual physical contact with anyone,
of course,
and obviously, even in this interview, I am behind so much plastic in such an undisclosed location, because even if the mailman found out where I was and they tried to deliver a package, again, dander could come off the cardboard and kill me.
Now, you are in New York somewhere, whether it be the Hamptons or the city. You do summer in the Hamptons. You travel back and forth a lot. But you are living still a bubbled life, and you try and keep as sanitary as possible when you're not in the public, so that you don't have to be on those methamphetamines or carry the EpiPens. How has that affected your social life, and how has that affected your creative life? Because you probably have a lot of time on your own to think about arrangements, think about how to set up for events, get rid of people.
Well, I'll tell you, it took my wife a long time to figure out we had to design a special bubble for her that was compatible with my bubble. Mm-hmm. Bubble can't be one-sided. So it's a, two-sided bubble. And so it took a couple years, and it took a lot of coaxing to really get her into my bubble and get her up to speed. And, she to do that, you really have to leave behind everything you know and love for the sake of our relationship. And, blackmail is just a term that gets thrown around, but sometimes true love is based on a lie, and that's sort of how we're going. And we have two lovely daughters, and one's bubble free, the other one is so bubbled up that she might as well be soap.
And now, of course, your wife's parents are still in an undisclosed location in northern Canada.
Yeah. What we like to do, since I don't like indecision, And so what we've been doing is we actually they're in an airplane, and they're just haven't landed in 16 years.
Oh wow!
And
So
so
keep going.
yeah. I mean, there's they can refuel in the sky, so it's not really a big deal. And they have TV and Wi-Fi, so I don't hear them complaining. I mean, they don't have a phone, so I can't really tell. But we arranged for everything to be taken care of. So my wife hasn't seen them,
but she's very assured that they are safe and will be fine.
Yeah, it's along the lines of
the
along the lines of like how I assure my kids that Santa is real and he's going to be here this year, or the Tooth Fairy is going to break you off a 20, and Uncle Mickey didn't mean it, things like that.
Uncle Mickey didn't mean it when he cursed you and said that you were unloved and then hit you across the face.
Yeah, well, you won't see Uncle Mickey anymore. We don't have 3 strikes and you're out policy in the McNair household.
It's just a one and then done.
Yeah. I'm Peter, but my word's granite, kind of deal. And everybody understands. Everybody, I wouldn't say there's fear, but when I'm rolling around the hall, people, they part. It's too much to do. It's Clint. It's the world moves too fast, and there's too much to arrange and not enough time. And you really got to put in the family time. You really got to mix that with business. You can't just be one-sided one way or the other. And that's right now I'm the busiest I've ever been. I'm doing the BET Awards,
of course.
So I'm arranging that. I'm trying to see what I can do to really surprise everybody. I'm thinking no music this year.
No music at the BET Awards.
Yeah, I'm thinking
that is going to be very different and very new.
Mm-hmm. Now we're just spitballing. This will be released after the BET Awards, so I'm not worried about my surprise getting leaked out. But we're still going over. We have to arrange a couple things with some of the people at the venue, make sure they're on our same page, and if they're not, we'll. I think they have one guy has a horse farm somewhere, so we'll send somebody up there to visit.
Got a couple horses maybe involved.
Maybe one loses a head.
Ends up in someone's bed.
C'est la vie.
Peter McNair, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, man. And just remember, bees, man. Remember.
Bees are out to get us all, apparently.
Especially me. But, yeah, you too.
Especially Peter McNair. Next week. The Pope claims that he didn't know. And though the lies may continue to grow, what if the Pope knows that his nose doesn't grow? I'm Clint Novak. Thanks for stopping by.